Welcome back to this series on how to use ELMS. And for this video, we'll talk about assessments and go into details on how it works. Assessments, which is just assignments or tests. Let's begin by creating an assessment. We'll give this a title. And you can either enable timer if you want. Timer is for giving the students a particular time to take this assessment. What I mean is, from the time when the students start the assessment, the timer begins to count for only that student. So if you say 30 minutes, it means the students have 30 minutes to take this assessment. So I don't think I need timer for this one. Let's keep it simple. And then auto grading. If you want this assessment to be auto graded by AI, you should select the auto grading check here, and you just create the assessment. After it's created, we can navigate into it, and from here, let's now see some of the functionalities and how to use them. So if you've used Google Forms before, you should be familiar with this interface. Let's start with the settings tab. Here you can set the title and set the instruction optional. I'm going to set something. Any change you make also auto saves as well. So you can also see the timer settings. You can update it here. You can also see the auto marking settings. So this default marks is for any question which you don't specify how many marks that question is. It's going to fall back to use default marks. So you can set default marks to anything you want. By default is 1. And you can also tick this button, which is show score after submission, which means after this assessment is marked, the student will receive an email of the score he or she got for this assessment. And these two settings is if you want to shuffle each question per section, because an assessment can have multiple sections. So if you want to shuffle each question per section, you can check it. And if you want to allow multiple submissions, you can as well check this one. Let's head back to the questions tab. There are different widgets you can combine to create a quality assessment here. There is subheader, there is radio, there is checkbox, there is short text, there is paragraph, and there is file upload. Subheader is used when you want to give rules on how to answer a specific set of questions, or rules on how to go about a particular section. This current box displayed here is a subheader. Now, radio and checkbox are for objective questions. In radio, the user can only select one option, but in checkbox, the student can select more than one option. So you can think of it like just the opposite of each other. Short text and paragraph are for theory questions. In paragraph, you use paragraph mostly when you want the student to enter long descriptions or narrations, just texts that are long, while short text is just the opposite of that, maybe for little definitions. While file upload is used when you have maybe a deeply customized question and you just want the student to maybe snap or type and just upload the document. Currently, the AI auto grader does not work for file upload, but it works for every other component. So we're going to focus on creating just 3 questions for the sake of this video and see how everything comes together in action. Let's start with an objective question. I'll create a checkbox where the user can select more than one option. Now name the question as which now give the options. And for the second question, let it be a theory question. So I'll use short text and I'll just say define indices. And for the third one, I'm going to use a paragraph. Now say okay, we'll go with just these 3 questions for now. We can add another section here. We are in section 2 now. We can go back to section 1, but for the sake of this video, we'll just focus on one section. You can always explore it on your own. So if you can remember, we selected that we want this assessment to be auto-graded. So for it to be auto-graded, we need to give a little set of rules for the grader to follow. Let's start with this first question. To access the grading guide for any question, you need to use this button, this icon button at the bottom left. Once you click on it, you can now set the guide. By default, it's going to have the default mark, which is 1. So I'm going to modify this to 2. And since this is just a simple objective answer, we can just select what the correct answers are or is from here. So I'll select these 2 and click on done. Let's go over to the next question. The same way we access the grading guide. and we say a maximum amount of marks of 5, or let's do 4. Then we'll say we're going to give a rule now. You can add as many rules as you want, but you have to make sure that your rules are straight, are concise and straight to the point. So I'll give one rule saying so these rules are, you can see I wrote it in just pure natural language. It's not something that has a kind of technique to follow to write the rules. It's something that you just write, and you have the option to always test this assessment before publishing it so that you can make sure that it works the way you want. If there is anything you need to adjust in the rules, you come back and do it. So I've set the rules for this second question and you click done. Now for the third, we'll also give this 4 marks, making total marks for this particular assessment 10 in total. 10. And then we are going to give a rule as well. It will be that's it. And we'll click done. So we are done with setting all the rules. And the next thing we are going to do is to preview this assessment. We're going to set all the questions as required here. We'll preview the assessment and preview the assessment. We use this button, which will always be at the side of the last question. Click on it. And you'll be able to see the instruction we set, the assessment title, and the student will also be able to see the details before proceeding. Now, these details you can see here, you can just think of the person like an assessment marker. It's not a human being, it's just a random name, it's just a name and number we use for the purpose of testing any assessment. So you don't have to worry about it. So we're just trying to show you how it's going to look for the student. So when you click on proceed here, you will see the questions you initially set, and you can see the questions are shuffled because we enabled shuffling per section from the assessment settings. We enabled shuffle per section, so the questions are shuffled. So let's go ahead to answer the questions. Just give some random answer for each of the questions. After that, the students will be able to submit. If there are multiple sections, the students can navigate through any of the sections using these buttons. These buttons are currently disabled because there is just one section. So submitting this assessment, if the auto grader is enabled, takes 12 to 24 hours to be graded for the students. But for you testing this assessment, we're just trying to adjust and know how the grading will work. It's instant, so you don't have to worry about the time taken. So you just click submit, and you can see the assessment has been submitted. Now close this dialog. We'll come back here and navigate to responses. From here, you can refresh this table to view the latest submissions. You can view the submission which we just made now, the name, the res number, and the score. We got 4/10 for this submission. You can as well click on any submission to delete it. Deleting this submission means if this is an assessment that has multiple, that disallows multiple submissions, deleting a submission for a particular student means the students can now resubmit. So let's click on this particular submission to see details on how we scored this. And so you can see section 1, the student answer, but the answer chosen, which were the correct answer, we selected from the grading guide. So you got 0/2. The second question, you can see it partially meets the expectation. So we are giving 2/4 for this particular question. For the third question, you can read it, and why we are graded this one, we're also giving 2/4. So that's it on how the assessment works. Also, this assessment is currently archived. Sorry, the draft, just like we talked about if you watched the collection video. Even though students might be enrolled into this class, we can't be able to view or take this assessment until we publish it. Publishing it now makes it public for them and notifies them that a new assessment has been published into their classroom. So I can publish it here. And we can see that the assessment is now published. So that's it for this video. I know this particular assessment intro might have been a lot, but trust me, practice makes perfect. Don't need to be scared of anything really. Just need to come, create an assessment, publish the assessment, and the more you keep doing it, the more you keep on getting familiar with it. So see you on the next one. Thank you.